Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Conquering My Collection. And this one is not a film that I've conquered, but a discussion video. And I don't know. This has been rattling around my head for a while. I think that this started 3 years ago, so it was 2020. I think it was 2020 because I had a lot more money then because I I didn't leave the house for 3 months, and I bought brand new release from Criterion, and just still one of the prides of my collection. It is the complete films of Agnès Varda, a Belgian filmmaker who made films in France for literally decades. Like I think, one, two, three, four, five, 6, 7 decades. So I mean, there's not many directors who've made films over 7 decades. I think people like Spielberg and Ridley Scott have just crossed over that threshold themselves. Um, yeah, but well, no, maybe not. I think that actually 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2000s. Actually, no. So people like Spielberg and Ridley Scott actually are 6 decade directors, but Anya's made it to seven. So 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s. And she almost made it to 2020. She could have been an 8 decade filmmaker, but she was a legend, right? And like my love affair with her has been a little bit chronicled over the years in my videos and in my recent Films That Remade Me video from a few weeks ago, last month. But started making a series of reviews of this box set called Agnès Forever, in which I would slowly work my way through the programs in this collection. So this collection doesn't present her films in chronological order, it presents them in kind of groupings, different programs, as if it's kind of like a curated film festival almost of her entire works. There's a few things that aren't in the box set, I think, very minor things, but for all intents and purposes, you're getting the full whack. There was a bit of controversy with this release in terms of the color grading on some of the films, and also maybe a few films, too many being squashed onto one disc, and so some of the encoding is not the best. But my current experiences with this box set have been fantastic. I've only gone through the first 2 discs, I think, and I really enjoyed reviewing those 2 discs in full. Making a video on every short film, talking about the whole the extras and everything like that. Really fulfilling. But the topic of this video is, will I ever finish this box set? Will I spend my whole life trying to finish this box set? Now, I could put aside everything. I could put aside my video projects, my other projects, and I could just sit down every night and watch something from this set. None of her films are that long. And I could go through the whole thing in maybe a month or two. And that might be just one of the most amazing experiences I could ever have as a film fan. I don't know. But part of me wants to savor it. And part of me is also just too distracted to ever focus on one thing for longer than a few weeks, it feels like. And that's just something I've always struggled with, is my attention span, in varying forms of time, from in short term and long term. It's hard for me to keep a sustained amount of motivation and interest in things sometimes. But this absolute beast, I think it has about 38 films in it. And so when it came out, I don't know if this will even sit on the shelf that well. There we go. Is there any glare on that? No. Okay. So when this box set came out, I briefly toyed with the idea of, hey, maybe I spend like the rest of my life watching this. Maybe I take these 38 films, or maybe it's 35, including short films. And what if I watch one a year? And chart the process in a video series. A video series that will take over 3 decades, right? That was my idea. And I really liked the concept of it, but then I knew that, what if I die before then? I mean, it could happen, right? So that'd be a bummer to kind of shuffle off the mortal coil without having watched all of the films from one of my favorite filmmakers. But now it's been like 2 years since I've gone back to it. And what happened was, I got bogged down. I watched everything in the 3rd disc, which is I think it's Agnès in Paris, I think is the theme of that one. In fact, I'll just take it out and, while we're sat here and stuff. I did go through everything on the 3rd disc, and I just kept pushing off on making the reviews, that it just became like it was too long, Yes, Around Paris, disc 3, program 3, which encompasses the films Cleo from 5 to 7, the bridge of Point, not the finances. I think it's the bridge of Point MacDonald, I think. Uh, I can't pronounce some of these. L'Opera Mouf. No, I can't. The Caryatides, right? Okay, and then I can't even I can't even begin to go on the last one there. There's so many. I think that one is something about stairs. It's like a 3 minute short she made for a promotion of a cinema. So I did go through these. I really loved. There's a short film from 1958 that is just incredible, and then Cleo from 5 to 7 is one of her more acclaimed works. But I mean, it's beautiful the way the set is laid out. But I went through everything on this disc, including the extras, I think, and I just dragged my feet around starting filming the reviews. That it just became I've left it too long, and I need to revisit everything again, and that became that kind of took the wind out of my sails. So when I do get back to it, I will go through disc 3 again and revisit everything, and then do my kind of reviews and stuff. And I'd like to say I'm going to do that soon. I probably won't. But it's a shame that it's been 2 years now, because yeah, I loved her films. I loved past tense. Well, yeah, because it feels like I've been away from them for so long, and I love her films and I want to get back to them. But part of me was almost thinking, well, it's been 2 years since I've gone back to it, and I don't feel like this gaping hole in my life where I haven't been able to watch her film. So maybe I do just watch a film every year and really savor it and cherish it. I don't know. Maybe I will do that. I just don't know. I probably won't. But do you have things like that where there's something in your collection where it's like a big box set with many films in it, and if you powered through it, it would be an amazing experience, but you want to savor them at the same time? I mean, that is why I have a collection that's so large, with many, many films I haven't seen before. It's up in well, not thousands, but it's gone over 1,000 again. My watch list, my Blu-ray watch list, including short films and documentaries, but there's still a good 700-800 feature films in my collection I haven't seen. And I can say that every single film in my collection, you can come into this room and you can shuffle through everything, though I'd be kind of clenching my fists and kind of, hoping you don't mess anything up. But you can pick out anything and say, okay, have you seen this film? And if I say no, you can ask me why. Or you can ask me why I want to watch it. What's the reasoning? Is there anything in this collection I bought just for the sake of buying it, just for the sake of a collection? And the answer is no. There are certain films that don't have like a certain specific built-in thing, like say it might even be grabbable from my vantage point at the moment. Yes, it is. 2 seconds. Hopefully my bald patch isn't showing. You never can tell. The joys of aging, and male pattern baldness. I recently acquired the Scope collection. It's beauty, absolute beast of a set. Phenomenal thing. Look at it. It's almost just great just by itself, right? And there's about 14 films in here, and so the price I paid for it's something like £4 per film. I can't go through every single film in this set and say, oh well, there's a specific reason I want to watch The Return to the 36th Chamber of Shaolin, But I do have a reason to want to watch all of them, because I've become so passionate about Hong Kong cinema, and I want to kind of assimilate as much of it into my kind of film knowledge as possible, and I want to see more of the Shaw Brothers side of Hong Kong cinema in the 70s and 80s and stuff. So there's that. I can't point at every single specific film and say why, but for the most part I can. If it's a single release, there's a reason. There's a film I can see now called Beast, which I bought because I'd seen Wild Rose with Jessie Buckley, and I thought it was amazing, and she was incredible, and someone on Twitter said, you need to check out Beast because she's really good in that. I ordered it the same day. It came the same day, and the day afterwards I was going to watch it that night. Didn't get around to it. Still really want to see it because I love Jessie Buckley, and she's only continued to prove to me that she's a great actress, and so that's just a film that at some point I'd like to get around to watching. But with this, with Agnes, it feels special. It feels like prestige. It feels like something I care so deeply about, and the idea of getting to the end of the line and having no more Agnes Varda films to discover, there's a sadness to that I don't feel quite ready to kind of prepare myself for, which sounds very silly, but I'd like to know if anyone else experiences that sort of thing, or if it can be too overwhelming. I have the Ingmar Bergman cinema set, which is, I think one of the greatest pieces of physical media ever created, but, I haven't really delved too deeply into it because it's overwhelming. I have the big Eric Romer set, which I started doing reviews for, and then that trailed off. And again, but that was overwhelming too. But there's just there's not enough time. There's no time in the day. If this was my job, and I was a I was a Jeremy Jahns or a Chris Stuckman, then I could do all these things, and it could I could make loads of money from YouTube and stuff, and that'd be great. But that's not going to happen. I was talking to a friend of mine recently, and just saying, these people who make videos like this, who have channels like this, and want to make a career out of it, are just I feel like, and he feels like, they're in the clouds. Because unless your name's Chris Stuckman or Jeremy Jahns, the ship has sailed. There's some people. Was it Sean something, the guy who does ranked lists, constantly, and there's ways of breaking through for sure, and you can make it a career. But what I do is very niche, very very niche. I'm not going to be here kind of going, hey, check out this thing that everyone's talking about. Hey, check out this thing everyone's talking about. Hey, here's my thoughts on this thing everyone's talking about. Sometimes those things will cross section and it'll be something I'm interested in. But, for the most part, I'm going to talk about films that not many people are interested in, because I that's how it works for me. It has to be something I'm passionate about to make a video about it. So that's just kind of my, my mindset on YouTube, I suppose. But, not even until then, because it's never going to happen. So, as it is, I'm never going to have time to go through everything I want to go through. And then even then, I feel like you would burn yourself out if you powered through too many at a time. You need to let things simmer, which is also why I'm thinking about, the idea of that 30-year plan of going through, and it wouldn't be 30 years because I've seen quite a few of her films now. So there's probably about 25, 27 maybe films in that box set I haven't seen yet. And what if you get to a film that's like 2 minutes long? The tribute to a cat. That's like 60 seconds. I really like that film, but it's maybe 2 minutes. But for that to be the only film you'd have that year would be a bit. But then that'd be fun, and I feel like that would be kind of almost in tune with Agnès' kind of sensibility and humor in a way, to do something that kind of strange. But just let me know your thoughts about that. Your thoughts on kind of overwhelming box sets or collections, or even filmographies, maybe things you don't own. There's, maybe an actor or a director, you want to get through all their films, but it's kind of daunting. I would say that was Scorsese at the minute, because I just watched Killers of the Flower Moon, and now I want to go back and watch all of his films, but it's a bit overwhelming. There's so many of them, and some I'm not that interested in, but I'd like to kind of watch anyway. But then it's just like, well, there's so many other things I want to watch. You know what I mean? It's a constant rolling, continuous, not stress, but pressure. I'd say it's pressure, but internal pressure on myself. I don't feel pressured by any outside party, but within myself, I feel pressure to kind of conquer my collection. That's why I made the video in this series. It's an ongoing, eternal struggle for me. And when I use the word struggle, it's very lightly, of course. It's all relative to what we're talking about, the hobby that most of us have, that's just collecting films and talking about them. Anyway, I'll leave it there for now. And leave thoughts down below on Agnès Varda. If you have any of her favorite films of hers, I'd love to kind of talk about. And I had some really good comments on those videos that I posted in the Agnès Forever series, like really, really good depth, really good. I'll leave them for free. Really good, deep, in-depth kind of thoughtful comments that I really appreciate, and that's something that always kind of gets me going. But obviously, it didn't keep me going. So I just got snagged in it. There was just something that I didn't get around to the videos in time, and then I felt like too much time had passed. So it wasn't to be, but it will be at some point. Anyway, I'll leave it there for now. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Leave your thoughts down below. Let's get a conversation going, and I'll see you in the next one. I don't know why I went the next one then, but I'll leave that in for free too. Goodbye.